to start off with breaking news because the United States has launched attacks on Venezuela. You're taking a look right now at some of those strikes as they happened overnight in the capital city of Caracas, Venezuela. Now, at this time, the Trump administration actually says that they have captured leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, there in Venezuela, and they've brought them back to the United States where they will be indicted. So I want to go through what we're learning right now as this is a developing situation. You're taking a look at video that was sent in from locals in the coastal Venezuelan city there in Caracas of video explosions. Now, we know that fires were also set from the explosions, but ultimately at least 7 explosions could be heard. It felt like earthquakes and the ground rumbling. Low-flying aircraft swept through the Venezuelan capital of Caracas, and it seems like the United States struck a military base there in the area. After the strikes, the Republic of Venezuela released a statement saying President Nicolas Maduro had, quote, ordered all national defense plans to be implemented and declared a state of external disturbance. In response to the matter, the Federal Aviation Administration here in the United States has actually banned all commercial flights in Venezuelan airspace over ongoing military activity. So we're going to continue to follow this situation. I'd also like to take you live right now to Caracas. You're taking a live look there on the ground as people who live in Caracas are trying to figure out what's going on. You can see a man there in the back with a video camera. There's been a lot of confusion as to what happened in the early morning hours in Venezuela. Obviously, it is daylight there now, but at this time, Attorney General Pam Bondi here in the United States says Maduro and his wife will face criminal charges after an indictment in New York. We do know that Maduro was indicted back in 2020 in New York. It was not previously known that his wife had also been. We also know that this was an extraordinary nighttime operation that the United States launched. And a big question that a lot of people are going to be asking today is, what was the United States legal authority for this strike? Did President Trump consult Congress before? That is not immediately clear. You're taking a look at some other video of these strikes. You can see it happened in the early morning hours before the explosions lit up the sky. The military action that came from the United States plucked Venezuela's leader from office, and it actually is very reminiscent of the U.S. invasion of Panama that led to the surrender and seizure of its leader, Manuel Antonio Noriega, in 1990, and that was exactly 36 years ago today. So history does seem to repeat itself. If you are just joining our live stream, thanks so much for being with us. We're talking about the breaking news that's happening out of Venezuela right now. And I'm going to give you a bit of a timeline as to where we stand in terms of the United States launching this strike and where we stand in terms of the timeline of events that has led us to today. Because as you might realize, the United States has been engaging in escalating conflict with Venezuela as it relates to drug trafficking. And it really started back in January 20th of last year when President Trump signed an executive order paving the way for criminal organizations and drug cartels to be named foreign terrorist organizations. And one of the things that we've looked at is what the intelligence community has said regarding these strikes and what the President Trump has called narco-terrorism activity there in the region. Some U.S. intelligence agencies have disputed Trump's central claim that Maduro's administration was working with a Venezuelan street gang orchestrating drug trafficking and illegal immigration to the United States. But as the situation progressed, February 20th, the Trump administration formally designated 8 Latin American crime organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. That label, formerly reserved usually for, terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, used mainly for political ends and not for profit-focused crime rings. But that did change with the Trump administration. We saw this switch where we began to designate for-profit drug rings as terrorist organizations. So that's something that we've been following. Also, the United States military, August 19th, we began to see things really ramp up after the summer. So February 20th, The Trump administration designates some of these organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. Then August 19th, the U.S. military actually deployed 3 guided missile destroyers to the waters off Venezuela. On September 2nd, the United States carried off its first strike against what Trump said was a drug-carrying vessel that left Venezuela and was operated by the Trente de Aragua, that gang, that Venezuelan street gang that the president has wanted to target. Now, one of the things that we've watched since the beginning of September is this situation has continued to escalate. We know that the United States has struck more and more of these alleged drug trafficking vessels, and one of them received a lot of attention when the United States launched a double tap strike, meaning they struck the boat and then later struck the survivors that were left in the water. As we continue here, we've had some back and forth and really questions as to whether or not the United States wanted regime change in Venezuela and what that looks like. That is something that we continue to follow, is to understand what is next for the country. And right now there's a lot of confusion. If you're just joining us, you're looking at video there from the capital city as the United States launched its attacks this morning, early this morning in the capital city of Venezuela. Now, I'd also like to tell you a little bit about what the president is saying, because he did post on Truth Social. President Trump put this up, and I'm going to bring down my lower third so you can see a little bit more about what the president had to say. But he said the United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. The operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago. And one of the things that the president has been doing is hosting a lot of foreign leaders at Mar-a-Lago over the Christmas and New Year's holidays, or in between that break before the new year began. So the president is still in Florida at Mar-a-Lago, has not come back yet to the White House for the start of the new year. So that is where that news conference will be held. And I'm just going to bring up now and take a look if you guys have any questions on TikTok or YouTube. If you're streaming along with us, I'm going to try to look and make sure I can answer those. If you're just joining us, you're taking a look right now at the attacks that the United States has launched on Venezuela. We have over 900 of you streaming live with us here on TikTok. So I want to get through and see if you have any questions. Someone is asking, why did Trump attack Venezuela? That is the central question. I think one of the key things to keep in mind as we kind of look at this, the key factors to consider is that for a long time, the Trump administration has not recognized Nicolas Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. He has faced corruption charges before, and the Trump administration does believe that Nicolas Maduro is responsible for a lot of illicit drugs flowing here into the United States. They also believe he's responsible for illegal immigration and other activity that the Trump administration has been trying to prevent. So the short answer is they think that Venezuela's leader has been contributing to a lot of crime in the United States. Whether or not that justifies the attacks that you see today is the question that we're going to have to explore. Whether or not the president consulted Congress for this action is a big question. You know, lawmakers were upset recently over the fact that the United States, specifically President Trump and his administration, were launching attacks on drug boats, alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. So I'd imagine that if Congress was not consulted on this, they will likely have a lot of questions as to whether or not this was a constitutional attack. But the president does have some authority when it comes to such things like this. As I look through your comments to see if you guys have anything else that you're wondering and what you want to know. One of the things also to keep in mind is that the attacks were launched on a military base in Venezuela, and that during this attack, the United States was able to capture Venezuela's president and Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president, and his wife, Celia Flores. One other thing I want to mention again, if you're just joining, is that previously we know that Nicolas Maduro had actually faced charges regarding corruption. Back in 2020, he was indicted in New York. And right now we know that as a result of this attack, Attorney General Pam Bondi says that Nicolas Maduro and his wife are going to face charges here in the United States, and they will be indicted in New York. So that is something that we want to explore a little bit further. I'm looking through, I'm trying to get some latest information for you guys to see what's going on. I think a big question that a lot of people are going to be wondering is what casualties looked like there on the ground in Venezuela. Were any civilians hurt or killed? How many military members may have been hurt or killed? We know that at least 7 explosions could be heard, and they did launch some fires thereafter. So again, something we're all going to keep in mind. But I know this is breaking news. A lot of you have questions. We have over 1,000 of you streaming here on TikTok wanting to know what's going on. So we're going to continue to keep you updated as to what is going on. I am looking through. It looks like we already do have a comment from a Republican senator from Utah, Mike Lee, who posted on X that Secretary of State Marco Rubio had briefed him on the strike and that Maduro has been arrested by U.S. personnel to stand trial on criminal charges here in the United States. So again, this is something we're going to keep an eye on. As you might imagine, senior members of Congress that sit on intelligence and committees like that were likely briefed by the president's cabinet. So we have been seeing that, according to Mike Lee. But we're going to continue to follow this story. I know there's a lot of questions. We have some other local news we need to get to. But in the meantime, this is something that we're following. Continue to put your questions here in the chat, and I'm going to continue to follow up on it. But keep in mind, it seems the basis for this attack that the president is using is the fact that they want Nicolas Maduro to stand trial for criminal charges that they say he is needs to face here in the United States.